Okay guys, I'm just here real quick to show you how to patch the outputs when we're setting foldbacks on a Sunday morning, and also just how to start and stop a recording and make sure all the settings are right for the recording in Reaper. So obviously I'm on the audio iMac here. First thing I want to show you is the output patching on the console. This is a very similar view to what you would get by pressing the outputs button below the screen on the console. It's pretty much exactly the same. This looks exactly the same as the actual mix rack on the back of the stage. On your right here we have our 32 outputs organised by slot name G, H, I and J, 1 through 8 respectively. Now the way we've set up the stage here at Gateway is that all of the outputs in the plates in the stage are already patched to certain outputs on the mix rack. So all we need to do, once we've set a foldback on stage and plugged it into one of those outputs on the stage, is find which output on the mix rack that hole on the stage is connected to. So we have a spreadsheet that shows us where all those connections are made. So for instance, let's say we'd plugged a wedge into A on the middle plate on the stage. We would look at our spreadsheet, we'd find mid A, and we'd see that it is in H1. So on the console, you'd navigate to H1, and then over here we select our output source. For instance, a mono auxiliary, and we want it to be mono auxiliary, say 6. Apply. So now whatever we mix into mono auxiliary 6 on the console, whatever changes you make to mono auxiliary 6, that hole on the actual mix rack is where the audio will be coming out. And we know from our spreadsheet that that goes through to output A on the middle stage plate. The only other thing to know here for when we're patching stereos, or if we have more than one thing to patch, is we can change into range mode. So range mode, basically we select our first hole, then we select our last hole, and then we say we want them to be mono auxiliaries, and that will make it mono auxiliary 1 through 3. So basically we'll put auxiliary 1 here, auxiliary 2 here, and auxiliary 3 here. So we can go ahead and apply that. Last but not least, for our stereos, we can grab a range of 2, set it to a stereo auxiliary, and it'll put 1 left through 1 right. So this will become stereo auxiliary left, stereo auxiliary 1 right. Apply. It's as simple as that to get the audio out of the console and to a wedge. One quick thing just to know is that when you start the Allen and Heath iLive editor, if you watch down here, you see it actually creates a new window with a different icon. That's just to let you know that if you have minimized the iLive editor, clicking the Allen and Heath icon won't bring it up anymore. Just a quick little thing. You just need to be clicking that Java icon instead. Okay, so in terms of using Reaper to record a message, I'm just going to quickly run you through the setup, some of the options you need to check, and how we choose to save the files. So, first thing we want to do in Reaper is we're going to open our template file. So we're going to go File, Project Template, 64 tracks armed. So this project has 64 tracks in it, which is the number of inputs on the desk. They're all armed, ready to record, and all the input-output is set. The last thing you need to double check is to just go to Reaper, Preferences, and just check that the audio device is set to Dante Virtual Sound Card. So we can go ahead and apply that and have a look in here. Now I left an iPod playing. We can see some signal sitting in here on channel 52. So we're ready to record. Ideally you'd set this up and you would make sure that your actual handheld is coming through on the channel. The last thing we want to do before we record, and this is very important we do it before we record, is save the project. So we're going to save the project. We're going to put it onto the audio hard drive, and you can see I've got a bit of a naming convention here, which is a date, just all as numbers, and it's backwards because that makes it actually organized properly. So, for instance, we will put in 2012 06 24th. So that will be the 24th of June 2012. And then we would put somebody who's speaking, or just some sort of other namer. So for instance, Rick was speaking, or it was at youth, or it was baptisms. So let's just say that it's youth in this case. So we save. The reason we do that beforehand is that puts all the individual WAV files that get recorded into that folder along with the project, which is really how we want it to work. Our final step now that we're ready to record, simply click record. It'll start recording. That is crazy zoomed in, so we'll just zoom out and it'll look a little bit more normal. If we scroll down to channel 52 where I left some signal going, we'll be able to see it recording there. When we're done, we press stop, and then we can save the project. From there, if the service was ended and we just wanted to go in and have a quick edit, all we do is we find the channel we want. We find we delete all the channels apart from the one that we actually want. So we just select those all and delete, and then we'll select all the other channels as well, and we'll delete all of those. So we're left with the channel we want. We simply grab the start of the track, drag it up to where we want it to start, grab the end of the track, drag it up to where we want it to end. From there, we just drag it up to the start of the file again, so we're ready to go. The last thing we do is just File, Render. So we might just leave it on the desktop, we'll leave the name as default, and we'll render that file. It'll quickly render out. It might take a little bit longer in a longer file. Once we close that, we can quit Reaper, no need to save, and what we'll do from there is I'll show you how to podcast it. Okay, so a new thing that I'm asking the audio guys to do is to podcast our sermons on a Sunday after the service. So I'm just going to quickly run you through that. It's reasonably straightforward. There's a couple of little details, so you might want to take a few notes, but I think most of it is pretty straightforward. So first of all, here we have a message. This is from the 13th of the 5th. It was by Rick, and it's called God is Certain. You can see here, this is the file cut out of Reaper. So this is still at full quality, which makes it obviously massively too big to be podcasted. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put it into iTunes and just cut back the quality a little bit. So I've already imported it into iTunes. Here it is sitting here. In iTunes Preferences, on the very first General tab, we have the import settings. So we can go to Import Settings and import using the MP3 encoder. We'll go to Custom Settings, and we set the stereo bitrate to 32 kilobits per second, and then set the channels to mono. Just click OK out of all of that stuff. Now when we right click our file, we get our option to create MP3 version. We'll go ahead and click that, and iTunes will start converting that. Okay, so here we have our MP3 version that I've just searched up. So we'll just drag that back out of iTunes onto the desktop, and just delete those out of iTunes because we don't really need them there anymore. So you can see with this version, I'm just going to press Apple I to bring up the info. Alternatively, you can right click and get info. You can see we're down to 4.7 megabytes now, so that's pretty nice. Okay, so I'll close the info now. That file's pretty much ready to upload. In my internet browser, I'm just going to log into gateway.asn.au/typo3. That's the back end of the Gateway web server. We'll log in using the credentials that will be made available to you, but I am obviously not going to post in a YouTube video. So now we're in the back end of the Gateway website. We're going to jump into the file list on the left here. Then we're going to jump into Gateway Podcast. Now in the Gateway Podcast, obviously you can see we have a bunch of files. So what we'll do now, just to make life a little bit easier, is we're going to rename the file. Just make something a little bit simpler. So I'm going to make it 2012-05-13 Rick _Rick maybe. Now back in our interface, we'll click the upload button, which is this little file with a thing. One file, choose the file. Desktop, and the file we've been looking for. Open, upload files. Okay, so that file's just finished uploading. And we can just keep loading up these files just to grab the name and just make sure that it is there. So there it is, 2012-05-13 Rick. The last thing left to do is to edit the RSS file. The RSS file basically contains all the information about all the files that we're making available, and is where iTunes gets special information. So this is the edit icon. We'll click on that. So once this loads up, we just go to the very bottom of the RSS feed. Now basically each item here, between the item tag and the end item tag, is one podcast episode. So what we'll do is we'll just go from item to item and copy that, new line, and paste it. So now it's pretty straightforward. We just put in our information. So this is God is certain. Obviously, we're double checking our spelling and grammar because obviously this is a very public sort of thing. Now a lot of the information gets repeated. I'll normally just copy that. So Apple C or Command C, I should say, and Command V. See, this is, like I said, it's all just copying. Copy this one, paste rather. So now we just need to change the file name. So what we can do is, or what I would normally do, just go half screen over there. Again, Apple I, get the info over here. We can grab the file name from here. Apple C, Command C. Then over here, we just paste again. Command V. Command V. Command V. That's the last one we have to do there. The other thing we need to do is we need to grab this byte size here. So I'll just copy that and also take note of the duration, which in this case is 39 minutes, 28 seconds. So we'll put the duration in, 39 minutes, 28 seconds. Oops. 28 seconds. And then here in length, this crazy number, we'll paste what we just copied and we'll just take the commas out of it. Finally, if necessary, we'd update these keywords. In this case, I'm going to add God is, because that is the series that we're in. And that's all there is to it. We're going to save and close out of that RSS file. And that'll probably be up and ready to go in about half an hour or so. So that's all there is to podcasting. I'm sure we'll get very quick at it as time goes on. Maybe it'll take you a bit of time the first time you do it, but I'm sure you'll be smashing through it in no time. So thanks for listening and have fun podcasting.